I, 30 female, and my ex-husband, 31 male, divorced 5 years ago. During our divorce, we owned an old single-wide mobile home on a large piece of land zoned for a trailer park. He wanted the new truck and our savings. I wanted the old trailer and the land. My ex and I have 2 girls, pre-tweens. Since my divorce, I slowly started buying old single-wides and restoring them, turning it into a business. I love it. My girls go to their dad's and affair partner's apartment every other weekend. I started noticing their clothes, electronics and toys were not coming home. At first, I thought their dad was keeping a few outfits there for them. However, my older one got upset when she was packing. I asked her what was wrong. She told me her dad takes her clothes and sells them online and that she doesn't want to take her favourite shirt over there. I immediately called my ex. I asked him to return our daughter's clothes. Not wanting to throw my daughter under the bus, I blamed it on them not having enough for school. He played dumb. He said he got rid of the clothes that were too small. I pointed out that the jeans our younger one were brand new. He then said it was only fair he got some cash because he owned the trailer and land. I wouldn't be doing this good if it weren't for him. I was angry. I took my daughters down to the dollar store and bought cheap shirts. I went to a thrift store and bought cheap shorts. We had a girls' tie-dye night. Hot pink everything. Each made 5 shirts and 5 bottoms. I let our girls design and decorate them. My girls loved it. The following week, X sends the girls home. I could tell he was mad, but he didn't say anything. The clothes were not returned. No fear, I knew this would be an issue. We made extras. When the girls went back, they were wearing tie-dye. They were with their dad for an hour before he called and demanded different clothes. I kindly told him that our daughters love those clothes. They really, really love tie-dye. X got even angrier and said his parents had a major family party and the girls couldn't wear pink tie-dye. I told him he should buy other clothes if he didn't want them to wear them. He called me an idiot for being petty. So, am I? Not the idiot, this is what I can't get my brain past. Literally stealing from his children. What the actual heck is wrong with that adult man? OP, as much as my petty little heart loves the way you creatively dealt with it while making it fun for your girls, you need to lawyer up and document every last piece that doesn't come back to you. That idiot has another thing coming if he thinks he can steal from you and his own children like a freeloader. My son's dad and his affair partner tried this when he was young. He wasn't selling them, he was just keeping any new clothing and returning him in an old, dirty, outgrown stuff his affair partner's kid used to wear and giving his son's stuff to his affair partner's kid. I told him that wouldn't fly. What left this house comes back to this house with our son. His affair partner retaliated by dumping grape soda into my son's overnight bag, so I took him to court. The judge ordered he had to keep clothing and toys at his house, and what our son arrived with was what he returned with, and it had to be clean unless the visit was less than a day trip. Anything missing or damaged, he had to reimburse me for. Exactly. OP, you need to take this man to court. He's stealing from his children and doesn't care that it's causing them clear and understandable distress. What kind of parent sells their children's clothing off their backs because it was only fair they got some cash? I'm worried that it could be for adult substances. Either way, it might be worth talking to a lawyer about getting full custody. My dad stole my birthday money on my 8th birthday. All my friends came and each donated a little bit and I put it in a money tin. When it was gone the next day, he denied it. Found out he spent it on gambling. So cruel. OP, keep a record of what goes over there and back. Then you can change the child support to show he's taken it back. Mighty bold of you to think that man pays child support. If he's stealing clothes from his daughters to sell, I highly doubt he's paying child support. OP, if you can, please take him to court and give your kids the option of not visiting him as soon as you're legally able. Our daughter is turning 18 next month. She's a great kid, always pulls straight A's, is never in any type of trouble, and she's very respectful. However, my wife recently decided to have a talk with her about adult responsibilities. I didn't know about this conversation until my daughter came to me crying because she was scared about living alone. I was initially confused, but then she told me her mother said she needs to start looking for a job because she'll be expected to get her own place after her birthday. I was appalled because we never discussed throwing her out at 18. When I confronted my wife, she said our daughter wasn't a child anymore and needed our push to become an adult. I told her I was baffled that she would exclude me from such a serious decision and conversation. I asked my wife how she expects our kid to make it on minimum wage, especially considering our area's rent is out of control. She then informed me that she'd planned for us to pay half her rent until she was 20. I asked her why she wanted our kid gone so bad. As the argument intensified, I believe she slipped by, saying she needed the space, her bedroom, for her art studio. I couldn't believe it. I told my wife if her hobby was more important than our daughter, she should be the one looking to rent. However, she took that as me saying move out, but that's not how I meant it. I was implying that she should rent more space for her studio and leave our daughter alone. She didn't believe that's what I actually meant. She then gave me the silent treatment for 3 days. Our daughter, however, was still upset as she processed her mother wanting her out. She realized moving into a rental meant leaving her 2 cats behind. She's had these cats since she was a young child, and that alone devastated her. She told me, "I don't want to turn 18. I don't want to celebrate my birthday." I picked the argument back up with my wife at that point. I said, "Our daughter isn't moving out until she decides on her terms, because she is more important than you or your hobby." She looked stunned, and maybe I didn't choose my words wisely in the heat of the moment. I couldn't bear to see our daughter so upset any longer. I don't want her struggling to make ends meet and unable to follow her dreams. The last thing I want for her is to feel rushed. As far as my wife goes, she's not talking to me at all, and she's been cold towards our daughter. Not the idiot. Your wife is. While 18 may very well be the age you become an adult, 18 is not an age where most people are prepared to live on their own. Your wife is wrong because she should have had a conversation with you before arbitrarily making an idiot decision. It may be time to take a good hard look at your marriage. Putting an art studio ahead of a child's welfare and well-being is ludicrous. Not to mention, you don't stop being a parent when your child is 18 or 20 or any other age. You should be there for your kid and they'll be there for you. If the daughter is kicked out to make space for an art studio, I doubt she'll feel good coming to her parents for help if she ever needs it. I definitely wouldn't. Does she even like her daughter? Is she her stepmom or what? This is the hill to die on. You weren't that far off when you said maybe your wife should rent instead. How unbelievably cruel she is to her child to prioritize an art room over her daughter. Parents who kick out their kids and expect them to be financially independent as soon as they're legal are setting them up for failure. You are the idiot because you made your wife the villain and have clearly put a line in the sand about who is more important. Something you won't be able to recant easily, if ever. I have no idea about your history with your wife, but I'd be angry and hurt too if my husband told me that my 18-year-old, who I have helped to raise, is now more important than me as your partner. Agree. Dude, you should have been preparing your daughter for adulthood for years. Now, all of a sudden, she's facing the reality of adulting and she's that unprepared. What high school graduate cries and begs theatrically at the idea of getting a job and an apartment of her own? What did this girl expect to be doing with her adult life, if not either college or a career? Part of the work of parenting is preparing the kid to be independent. My son, pre-tween, is insanely picky. He won't eat almost everything. This started when he was around 5. He would come home from kindergarten with untouched lunches except for his yogurt and apple sauce. We took him to the pediatrician, who said we needed to consult with a dietitian. While waiting for approval from our insurance, we tried different things to get our son to eat. Eventually, we figured out he would eat stuff like mashed potatoes and soup, anything he doesn't have to chew, so we just started accommodating that. We tried to make balanced meals, mixing soft vegetables with his mashed potatoes. We figured he would grow out of this, but he never did. Finally, I got sick of making separate meals or eating pureed food every night, so I started bringing my son into the kitchen with me and teaching him to use a blender and other kitchen tools. Now my son makes his food almost every night I cook. My wife still makes separate meals for him. She says I'm an idiot for making him make his own food. I supervise him and help him with whatever he needs. I think he needs to know how to make his own stuff because there's no way people will accommodate this throughout his life. We've been fighting about it more lately. Am I the idiot? Oh, and we never did figure out why he doesn't like chewing. The dietitian referred us elsewhere and insurance wouldn't pay, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Are you kidding me? Is this rage bait? Your son has extreme sensory issues that he can't eat regular food and you think it doesn't matter why? He should somehow get over what is most likely some sort of neurodiversity? You are the idiot, and have you lost your mind? Do you think it's good parenting just to ignore that your kid only eats pureed foods at his age? Food aversions are a thing, often related to other conditions that also call for treatment. There are therapists devoted to exploring these issues and finding solutions. Agree. You are the idiot for treating his food aversions as if it's something he's doing on purpose to be naughty. It sounds like a sensory issue to me, and you can't just brush it under the carpet because chances are that food might not be the only thing he will struggle with in his life. He needs help and support, and you need to get educated by a professional on how to help your son. Poor you, OP, that's too much for you. It doesn't matter as long as you can minimize the impact it has on you. If you can't afford medical assessment, do some research. Many non-profit organizations and parent-led support groups can help you get started for free. So step up and start parenting. I had plans with my boyfriend Jack, his brother Tyler and my friend Paula to go hiking last weekend. I suggested an easier, flatter trail for us to hike since Paula isn't as experienced a hiker as the rest of us. I thought the plan was just to hike together and hang out and talk. But the day of, we started at an average pace and the guys just kept going faster. Paula was lagging behind, kind of out of breath, and I stuck with her. I was irritated because a huge rule of wilderness safety is to stay with your group, because stuff can go sideways fast in the backcountry. They were stopping to wait every mile or so, but we never knew where because they didn't say and nobody had cell service. But as soon as we caught up, they'd start going at top speed again, leaving us playing catch-up non-stop. I told Jack that I'd like them to stick with us, and he complained that we were too slow, the trail was too easy, and they needed their workout. After the third time they ran off, Paula and I got to this viewpoint before the main peak, so we sat down to take our first breather in hours and vent. She joked that we should stop chasing and let them wander. I suggested we just hang out at the viewpoint until the guys noticed or found us on the way back down. She pulled out some herbs she'd been planning on sharing at the top of the mountain, and we hung out and smoked and ate our lunch. It was an hour and a half before the guys came back. We heard them before we saw them. They were sprinting down the trail, yelling our names. I called, "Over here," except I was coughing from smoking, so it sounded more like, "Cough here." The guys came running to the viewpoint and Paula was giggling her butt off at my attempt to yell. Of course, I got the giggles from her and from smoking too. The guys confused our giggling for crying since we were both just wheezing with laughter and were asking what happened. I was like, "We're okay, we're just happy." Tyler got really mad at us, saying that they stopped off half a mile from the summit to wait for us before making the final push, and after we didn't show up for an hour, they turned back to look for us instead of summiting, and he was furious that we just stopped to get high without telling them. I was like, "I thought we split up like you all were off doing your own thing all day," and my boyfriend raised his voice at me, telling me that you don't split up a group without communication. At that, Paula and I giggled again. Like, no kidding. It was just funny how he was saying the same thing I'd been saying all day. For the rest of the hike, the guys were angry with us because we ruined their summit, making them turn back just because we didn't even try to keep up. Am I the idiot for going missing on a hike? Not the idiot. You told Jack and Tyler repeatedly what the issue was. They ignored you and did their own thing. You and Paula finally gave up trying to win a losing game. I hike. You adjust your route to fit the weakest hiker, not the strongest. Duh. The guys could have had their workout on a different day, different hike. Instead, they chose to abandon you and Paula over and over again. You didn't ruin anything. I don't blame you a bit for taking care of yourselves. Trying to keep up with those two could have resulted in exhaustion or getting lost. Getting rescued isn't always free either. Your boyfriend and his pal foolishly, selfishly, and deservedly ruined their own trip. If they were so caring, they shouldn't have waited at the half-mile mark. They should have accompanied you. Also, I would have laughed at the irony in the boyfriend saying, "You don't split up." You're right. They were the ones who split the group and refused to slow down a bit. Also, if the summit was that important for them, they could have left you there and made the summit in return. As you said, they've been doing that all day. My niece, Teen, has lived with me since her parents passed away about a year ago. She knows how to drive, but her driving is not very good. She's only allowed to drive my car when I'm with her to help her learn more. She asked me to let her drive the past few nights, but I was too busy. Last night she went out of home with my car and slightly hit the wall. I was, and still am, very angry because my car is new and expensive. I grabbed all her electronics and told them I would sell them and use the money to fix my car. She cried and begged me not to because her dad bought them for her. She promised to pay for them if I didn't sell them, but I don't see that happening because she doesn't have a job. I might be an idiot because I don't need the money and can pay for it myself, but I want to do this to teach her a lesson. My wife says I'm an idiot though, so I don't know. You are the idiot big time. Teens make mistakes and her recently dead dad gave her those. You couldn't be a bigger idiot in this situation if you sold them. Forgive her and talk her through it like an adult that is in charge of raising a kid. Agreed, I want to emphasize the part about it being a gift from her dad. I lost my mom when I was a kid, and a former stepmother threw away some things of mine like this that my mom had given me. It's been over 13 years and there's still not a day that I don't wish I had those items. Doing something like that wouldn't be a punishment, it would just be cruel. Agree. Finding some chores or something for her to work off the damage would be the appropriate consequence. Getting rid of the possessions her dead parents gave her is not. Not sure how you find this appropriate. Sounds to me like he's doing it out of spite. He says it's to teach her a lesson, but I think really he's angry and it's his way of excusing his behaviour. Accidents happen. If you want to teach her something, teach her how to drive better. Update. Thank you for your suggestions. When I saw both her and the car were gone, I knew what had happened. All I could think about was what if something had happened. I was so worried and angry I couldn't think straight. I told her I wouldn't sell them, but I'll keep them until she paid for the damage, which she'll do by babysitting our child, a female toddler. I didn't ask her to do this because she has made it clear that she hates babysitting, but she suggested she could do this, so if she wants to do this, it's fine by me.